And now, in studio, bringing his Midwest values from the Show Me State to the land of San Diego. He's a triple threat, licensed as an attorney, mortgage broker, and a top producing realtor who's crushing the competition. Here to deliver you what's happening in the trenches of the market. Your host, Michael Gaddis.
Michael Gaddis Show on AM 1170 The Answer. I am your host, Michael Gaddis of michaelgaddis.com and frontierloangroup.com. And as promised, I have a very special guest today. And it's a topic that a lot of people talk to me about, a lot. And it comes out quite a bit. It's bankruptcy. So I've asked Stephen Brummer of frfamilylaw.com to come on the show today. And he has blessed us with his presence today. And we're going to talk about three very special areas. Well, Stephen, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
My pleasure to be here today, Michael.
Oh, you have a good radio voice. I like that. It sounds great.
Thank you.
Just a little background on Stephen. Stephen Brummer has practiced law for over 17 years. His practice now focuses on consumer bankruptcy, trusts and estates, and litigation of these matters. He serves as senior bankruptcy counsel to Fleischer and Rabberby, a boutique Carlsbad law firm with an emphasis on family law. Stephen is one of the few attorneys who have earned a specialized postgraduate degree, the Master's of Law degree, the LLM, from the University of San Diego. His master's study in taxation helps Brummer, Stephen, analyze the tax issues raised by his clients in bankruptcy and estate matters. And before we get started, I'm going to say that's probably a very important aspect that everybody who's listening today should know about you. The fact that you have a tax background is crucial. And I'll tell you why. Because as everyone who's listening here knows, I interview a lot of attorneys on various disciplines on here. Going from estate planning, going to, to family law, all types. And it all funnels down to one issue, which is tax. Every single one of them, that little three-letter word is mentioned on every single show. So the fact you have a background in tax in addition to being a bankruptcy attorney, to me, is a very crucial thing.
Tax finds its way into so many of my cases, Michael. It's almost a hidden treasure in every case. It's a little challenging, but it's providing me with some of the most complicated cases that I've dealt with in my career so far.
Well, let's get started into bankruptcy in general. Here's a frequent question that I'm asked, and it's something that I think a lot of people really need to get a better gauge on. What's the difference between a Chapter 7 and a Chapter 13 bankruptcy?
Well, this is, like you said, this is one of the most critical questions, and as you were talking in the earlier segment about doing your own research, people do research all the time on bankruptcy. And they'll come in with various and sundry information they may have gleaned from the internet, and some of it's right and some of it's wrong. So Chapter 7 and 13 are very different animals. They provide very different kinds of relief, and they take very different lengths of time to complete. And Chapter 7 is what people usually think of when they think of a bankruptcy. It's also known as a liquidation or a straight bankruptcy, and in terms of a legal process, it's lightning fast. I can finish a Chapter 7 case in about 4 months, which if you've ever been involved in legal process, 4 months is super fast to do anything in the law. That's assuming that the case is a no-asset case. Chapter 13 is a reorganization of your debt where you pay some of your debt back over time. So the real differences are 7's fast. 7 gets you what's called a discharge, which is an order from the court saying you're no longer obligated to pay any of the debts that you listed, and in some cases, some debts you failed to list. And Chapter 13 is where you pay a percentage of your debts back over time. That being said, most people come to me wanting to do a Chapter 7. It's faster, it's cheaper, and you get that golden discharge that everybody's looking for. However, there are some advantages to a Chapter 13, particularly with respect to real estate, that a lot of clients will choose because that's available to them. But in most cases, it's going to be a Chapter 7. So the differences are speed, expense, and the discharge that's available to you in Chapter 7 is complete of all dischargeable debts. However, there are some debts that are by law non-dischargeable under any circumstances.
Well, you're listening to the Michael Gaddis Show on AM 1170 The Answer. I am your host, Michael Gaddis of michaelgaddis.com and frontierloangroup.com. I am speaking today to Stephen Brummer from frfamilylaw.com, and my next question to you comes about the automatic stay, because I know everyone in the world has heard about automatic stay. Well, maybe not everyone in the world, I assume that, but let's say you have. Now, when I was in law school, I took a class on bankruptcy, and I don't practice bankruptcy, I don't know much about it, but I'll tell you what, one thing I remember that stuck in my head is my bankruptcy, and you can tell me if my bankruptcy professor was correct. He basically said that when you have a bankruptcy, it's like taking a Polaroid picture of your life. Everything from the point of that picture backwards is involved in the bankruptcy, everything forward is not.
That's pretty much correct. The automatic stay is a very broad and powerful order of the court that goes into effect the second you file that case. So you come to my office, we complete the petition for you, and then we file the case for you, and at that moment, that's what's called the order of relief. When the case is filed, everything stops. It basically says, whoa, stop the clock, everything stops, creditors have to stop calling you, collecting from you, suing you, garnishments have to stop, and in exchange for that order, you're basically getting the benefit of the court stopping all creditor activity. Now, there are some things that continue, like if you're the defendant in a criminal case, bankruptcy is not going to stop that. If you're dealing with a divorce or paternity suit, those things continue. But if you're getting sued by creditors, if you're subject to a garnishment, if you're facing a foreclosure, if you're facing a repossession, if you've been sued and you haven't gone to judgment yet, the automatic stay tells all the creditors, stop where you are. This person has asked us for help, has asked the court for help. And while we determine if that help is available, you have to leave them alone. And this is a topic that comes up with creditors who call me as well, because they'll get a notice of bankruptcy because somebody owes them money. Maybe it's a business, maybe it's an individual who made an individual loan. They get a notice in the mail and they say, well, what do I have to do with this? I send a monthly bill to this person. You need to stop that right away, because if you as a creditor send a debtor in bankruptcy a notice that they owe you money, you are in violation of the automatic stay and can be sanctioned. So that is a very important issue that a lot of creditors, mom and pop creditors, might not know. And so that's a really important part of the stay. It is very powerful.
Yes, I know, and in my own experience, in my law practice, I help a lot of distressed homeowners, people who are losing their house and on verge of foreclosure. I do know that a lot of people who are facing foreclosure in like 2, 3, 4 days, they come in and say, oh my gosh, I'm going to file a bankruptcy.
I've gotten that call.
And that will stop them in their track.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it really will. It will stop a foreclosure like that.
Well, I get that call too, and I won't take a case where I don't believe that the person's actually eligible for the relief that we're asking for. But if you call me and say, I've got a foreclosure coming up in 2 weeks, or something like that, I'm even shorter time than that, I'll get you in and we'll analyze the situation. If there's a chance that bankruptcy will help you, filing that bankruptcy case will stop that foreclosure in its tracks, and that's incredibly powerful.
It is, and just in my world, bankruptcy is basically, one of those things where we use, if, as you said, they need it, we hold on to that card, trying to negotiate with the bank until we absolutely need it. And then it is a very powerful card to have, to get by yourself time, try to reorganize through the bankruptcy, either whether you do a Chapter 7 or Chapter 13, just kind of circle the wagons type moment to try to clear up some things and maybe try to save your house after that.
Yeah, I would say a good portion of my cases, people will come to me not in a real estate context, but in a creditor context, where they're getting done by creditors, and we'll look at the bankruptcy options and hold that bankruptcy card out to the creditor saying, look, we can settle this case with you. The client owes you $20,000, we'll pay you $5. You get $5 if we don't file, you get $0 if we do. What do you want to do?
Right. No, it is a powerful, powerful tool. And it brings me to another thing I wanted to talk to you about, and it's about these mills, these people. I know because I've experienced people who have either tried to file bankruptcy pro se, basically on their own, on behalf of themselves, or they go to a paralegal, or they use a mill that just basically. Now, I'm a big believer, no matter what you do, no matter what you're going to do, you go to a professional to do it. I do not believe in using these, $3.99, special op, because it's always gets you in trouble. In the end, either it's not done correctly, it's not done thoroughly, you miss things. And what's your opinion on this?
Well, I mean, obviously, I do this for a living, and it's not a terribly lucrative area of the law, dealing with distressed debtors. So I don't do it for the money, but I agree with you 100%. I give you an example from your world of real estate. I bought a house a couple of years ago, needed a little bit of work. I like to get a little messy with my hands because I don't get a chance to do that at my office. So I did a little painting, I did a little pulling up with some carpet, but the plumbing and electrical, I called in a pro. Because anything that can cause damage, I want to get somebody who knows what they're doing. So bankruptcy can be done pro se, and for those of your audience out there, pro se means on your own without a lawyer. You can also do your own dental work if you'd like to. I don't recommend it, but there's lots of things you can do for yourself, but you have to be prepared for the consequences. And the real problem with Chapter 7 bankruptcy, doing it on your own, is you can't take it back. So if you file a Chapter 7 and you have unexempt or non-exempt property, meaning that it will be taken by the trustee, you can't realize that that property is now vulnerable and say, oh no, I didn't realize I was going to have that problem, I want to take it back. Oh no, you're in now because you got the benefit of that automatic stay. You got something, now you have to give something. So it's very important to contact any competent bankruptcy attorney to deal with the exemptions, which are the laws that protect your property, and to deal with all the hidden issues that come up in a bankruptcy case, and there are tons of them.
Well, I think you brought up something that I think is very important. It's the double-edged sword effect of basically what I was talking about in the first segment, which is basically doing your due diligence and becoming educated on topics before you retain a professional. What the double-edged sword to that is sometimes people think that they've learned so much that they can do it on their own. Yes. And that is not true either. You still need a professional. The only thing I mentioned in the first segment is become educated so that you can speak to your advisor in a more knowledgeable fashion than you would. So please take advice from me. Don't go out and try to do these things on your own. Try to find somebody who is extremely capable and knowledgeable to guide you through. You will be so much happier in the end. Well, after the break, we're going to come back and continue our discussion with Stephen Brummer of frfamilylaw.com. We're going to talk a little bit about, can you keep your house or your car in a bankruptcy? You're listening to The Michael Gaddis Show on AM 1170, The Answer.